Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to it is the pregame show rewind. It is episode 18. We're knocking on 20 episodes this season. We're at week 13. We're at week 18 here, baby. We started in the summer and we are rolling. I'm Tolly Carr. This is my guy, Uncle Neely, hanging out in Boulder, Colorado once again this week. Neely, it was a tough one against Washington State over the weekend. It was a whole lot to not much. That game on Friday was painful. It was the first one, a little different from you. Logistically, didn't make a lot of sense for you to make the trip. Instead, you give the fans a live show, so it's kind of like running commentary. You could watch the game, you could watch the pregame show network at the same time. How much fun was that for you this week, man?
Man, it was a lot of fun. My partnership that I do with DNVR Buffs Live. We have a combined show called the DNVR Pregame Show, where we twice a week we do a pre and post game. We decided to, hey, let's be at the bar where the focal point of the fans are and go live from there instead of Pullman, Washington. So had a hype crowd, even though the game got away from us, and had a very engaged crowd into the wee hours of the morning because we still always do a post game show no matter what time the game ends. So 2 in the morning on the East Coast, and we still had people checking in from the Carolinas and from ATL. It was a good time in spite of the ball game.
All right, Neely, the lyrical master, 2 in the morning. What type of burger do you get?
Hey, you got the fat burger, man. That's a good day. You got to get the fat burger at 2 in the morning. That's cute. Shout out to O'Shea Jackson.
I always know you're going to be on top of it, man. You just throw these little lobs up there. I got to throw the relob. Let you bring it home. Oh
Yeah, it's
boy.
the whole Dwayne Wade no look to LeBron in Miami, man.
Yeah, exactly. All right, man. So the first time this year that we saw it, QB1, number two, does not finish the game. Just gets knocked out after too many hits. Just injured, couldn't really grip that ball. It was a tough contest. Let's hear now from Coach Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, after Friday night's loss.
And when they got Shador out of the game, it was tough. It was tough sledding from then on. And he sustained had numbness in his hand. He got hit in the forearm, and he couldn't really grip the ball. He couldn't really feel the ball. Then second time he got injured was, I think, when we had an air snap, and they rolled up his ankle, and that was it. Couldn't grip the ball at his ankle, so that took him out of the game. And the rest is history. Great job by our opponents once again. Very saddened of how we played. We practiced hard this past week. We prepared like no other, and to go display a performance like that is not indicative of who we are, what we are, how we are. And I've been boasting since the beginning of the season. I have not seen us quit. Have not seen us turn it down, or not want to play, or not want to execute. There was some plays in the first half that I didn't see the passion that I wanted to see, but we came and got on them a little bit at halftime, and they went back out there and they fought. So I do applaud them for fighting in the second half and not giving up.
So Coach Prime wasn't feeling good. He was under the weather. The outcome wasn't good. But hey, brighter days are still ahead, and this week can end the season with a win. Before we go back on the rewind and take a look back, and we're going to do a lot of deep analytics with the big boys coming up a little later, Neely, set the stage. One last game. Where are we going this week?
We're going forward. We're going to Utah. We're traveling to Salt Lake City. Good news, it's a Saturday afternoon, Tolly, Mountain Time, not a Saturday night. So you'll be able to check that game out, Pac-12 Network, around 3 p.m. Atlanta time. So that's the final game of the season. We needed to get that win in Pullman, Washington, and then Utah to have a bowl game. So now bowl game is out the window. Timeout. I do have to explain to the fans out there are paths for 5-win teams to get to a bowl game. What has to happen is you have to have not enough 6-win teams, 500 teams to fill the bowl slots. You are then allowed to go down to the 5-win teams, and APR comes into play then. So I don't want to, be so specific that people say, no, there's been a 5-win team in the bowl game before. it just ain't likely for us. I think there are enough 6-6 teams out there, and and not only that, we still ain't won 5 yet. So you would have to beat
Right.
Utah to even be in that conversation.
Right. All right. So we got the stage set. All right. Let's now officially rewind and take a look back at the week that was leading up to the game against Washington State. And, you know, it's always funny when we do these episodes, the things that happened during the week, they feel like 3 weeks ago. But this is what has happened since we last talked. Coach Prime addressed the Texas A&M rumors after Jimbo Fisher, which I think he got let go like during the show we were taping last week. Of course, immediate speculation comes out. Coach Prime to Texas A&M. It's going to be that for every school. Somebody somewhere is going to say, hey, you should call Coach Prime. Hire Coach Prime. Get Coach Prime on the phone. That's going to be the conversation. Neely, he quickly debunked any conversation that you and the crew would be heading to Texas.
He did. You know, he just went out there directly and firmly, much like he did in the early games and days at Jackson State when there was speculation about his departure. You know, I tell people, if you're Jay-Z and you're married to Beyonce, somebody always going to say something about she headed somewhere. I mean, that's what happens when you got a bad one. And Colorado has a bad chick and Deion Sanders. So there's always going to be rumors about who's sliding in the DMs and who's trying to recruit him away. But he put that to bed for this season, saying, hey, I'm here, mama here, sister here, nieces, nephews here, I pay taxes here. This is where I want to be. We got something that we're working on, something we got to finish. So I think that you can, you know, rest assured he's not going to Texas A&M or anywhere, you know, this year. But I will say this, Tolly, as I said before, lessons learned, man. There has to be an extension offered to him if you really want to protect him. There's always going to be some rumors out there. And I would even suspect this, Tolly Carr. Going down the road, you're going to have coaches to be fired. But timing is everything as it relates to the hiring of the next coach. Don't be surprised. Next year, you see some people get fired and an interim gets hired because they're hoping after that they can get Coach Prime. Watch.
Well, and you just have to look at it from a common sense perspective. Even when he was at Jackson State, I tied what I believed would be his timing to his son Shedeur. We thought there was a possibility at Jackson State there could be 3 years of Shedeur. He'd be ready for the next level, and you know, bets off after that. Shedeur is coming back for another year. I don't see any scenario in which Coach Prime wants to uproot him to another team. You got to fix what you have there. I just don't see that happening. But, you know, next season, Shedeur is going to be his last, no matter what happens. So, you know, those things could look differently. Not my place to say, but, you know, it is what it is. When you're at the big time, these conversations happen. So it's not something that you should fear or run from. It just is what it is. Zay Weaver. We talked to him this week. We saw him and Jimmy Horn taking their final walk there, man, or at least for Zay Weaver, and feeling the love for the fans, but not before Uncle Neely felt his love. I mean, what was that, Neely? You get your own personal? What was that?
Hey, man, you know, they have really embraced the pregame show and the content, so there's nothing like hearing from the crowd, hey, Uncle Neely, there's Uncle Neely. So it happens, you know, but we put the attention on the student athletes, man. That was Zay Weaver's moment, his final Buff Walk, which is out there on the Pregame Show Network, Pregame Show page on YouTube. And he's another one of those guys who came here under the one-and-done scenario to try to do what he could to show the powers that be that make the decisions of who's going to play on Sunday, that he's capable of playing on Sundays. And I think in 1 year he did that. There was a time that he and Jimmy Horn Jr., who will be back, were leading the nation as far as wide receiver tandems, still finished in the top 10 in the nation in duo. Zay Weaver is very capable of playing on Sundays, and I think that his decision to come here and play for Coach Prime year one has proven to be a great decision. And that's why I think even going forward for the offensive line, we're going to be much improved next year, because who wouldn't want to enter that portal and come block for Shedeur Sanders? Was going to be a Heisman-type year, a year where this program really gets on track and you can be a part of that success. I think the door is going to be wide open, opportunity for people who want to come do that.
I mean, this is the rewind, but, you know, you're opening the door to a little fast forward next year. There could be a scenario, Neely, where the Heisman Trophy comes down to two teammates. Like, it could be like, it's going to be Shedeur, it's going to be Travis. Like, that is not out of the realm of possibility. And 3 games into the season, you know, that could have been, a thing as well. So, man, the future is just so bright. I know this is buzzard season for some people. Can be a popular and seemingly, I don't need a lot of bravery right now to come out and criticize and say all the things that you want to say online. Those screenshots are not going to age well for people that keep receipts. They will not age well, is all. Delete, abort. that would be my advice to the keyboard buzzards out there.
Coach Prime is a receipt keeper, man. And so you better believe that there were some people that he's going to be saying this time next year, no, where's that same energy? He said it at Jackson State, Tolly, get me now because you're not going to get me later when I get my pieces in place. And that's going to be the same thing going forward. I know we rewind, but it's hard to rewind and not look ahead because, as you said, even talking about that Heisman hype, you look at the first 3 weeks of the season, Travis and Shedeur were both highly mentioned for Heisman worthiness. But the one thing about the Heisman Trophy, man, this build is going to the best player in college football, but you also have to be on a winning football team. And so when those losses started to compile, and then when Travis got injured, you saw them fall out of the mix in the conversation. But I would submit to you, Travis Hunter plays those 3 games. If we win just half of the ones we would have, could have, should have won, they would still be in that mention because statistically, what they have proven is they are top players in college football. And we can rewind and look at this loss against Utah. And you can also, not Utah, against Oregon State. And you can still look ahead and see what this team is going to be next year when those pieces and support pieces are in place.
The game from Friday night, man, it just felt like just bad luck. Like it was it Teddy Pendergrass, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. Did they have the song "Bad Luck"? I mean, it just from that fumble and then the kickoff return, it was like things that normally don't happen, and it was just a perfect storm of 21 points in that first quarter.
Yeah, and it started before we got there. There's been a flu bug going through the locker room that nobody has made excuses about. You saw Coach Prime was under the weather before, during, and after the game. Same thing with players who weren't able to travel or miss significant practice time. But even in that, Tolly, your offense starts off and they go 3 and out. You hold their offense to nothing. And then you see that pressure come, and Shedeur Sanders is sacked 4 times in the first couple of possessions of the ball. One was a fumble score. Then you have a special team score, and the wheels just start to wobble before they came off. And one thing that you saw with Shedeur Sanders out of the game, whether it was that brief series or when he went out permanently, that this team, with the offensive line or without the offensive line, is just a totally different machine without Shedeur Sanders at quarterback.
Yeah, you can really sense if you for some reason could not sense it just by watching what he did on the field, his absence, you realize, oh wow, like he can make something out of nothing more times than not, for sure. Neely, one of the things that we do, we go back and we give people perspective. As I get all these notifications on my phone from comments on the pregame show and our various platforms, a lot of people either didn't pay attention or don't give credit to what happened at Jackson State. But that very first season, man, started out good, started to get some losses, and it turned out to be just the season to take stock of what you have, what you need to do. And that second season, man, circled the block in a way that you would not believe. I was wavering back and forth earlier in the year. Is this more like that first season at Jackson? Was it going to be more like the real proper fall season? And the dynamics of it, Neely, just really point back for me to that spring season where you just had to look and put it out there and see what sticks against the wall and see what you have and see what you need to get and then go get it.
Yeah, I totally believe that. And I think that these recent losses, as they have compiled, have given Coach Prime, his staff, particularly recruitment director Corey Phillips over player personnel, a good stock of what we need to get in here to be what we're going to be and what we have promised Buff Nation we're going to be. So there's nothing like that game time evaluation to see what you need and what you don't have and who can rise to the occasion and who doesn't. There's going to be natural attrition year after year in college football. It is the way of the world now. So you have to re-recruit players, and you have to go out and recruit high school, the portal, and JUCO as well. So you're going to have significant turnover not just here, but in your Alabamas and your Georgias just across the nation as people move around and look for better opportunities. So I think that much like that first season at Jackson State, that COVID spring, where you started off with that road win against Grambling, a kind of TCU victory, if you will, and then everybody momentum was there and the wheels started to wobble because you didn't have key things in place. But man, across that summer and that fall, you then go on for 2 years in a row to not lose a conference game. Moving to a new conference next year in the Big 12, but I think, man, with the pieces that are missing, that have been identified, that are going to be in that portal, that are going to end up here at Boulder, that this team is going to be, just like it was this year compared to last year, exponentially better. You went from 1 win to 4 win. It's not out of the realm of possibility. I think it's even a low bar that you're going to go from 4 to 8 next year.
And Coach Prime's eye for talent and how that talent can be best used. Neely, give people that don't know the story of James Houston, a guy who, is a linebacker at Florida. He gets to Jackson State late. They tell him, look, man, I see the path for you to the NFL, but it's a little different than the way you see the path. Even the player disagreed, but now he is a member of the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I mean, you broke it down perfectly. That's one of the things about that portal. Just because someone's here in January doesn't mean new people are not going to be here June, July, and even August. James Houston arrived at Jackson State via the Florida Gators late in the fall camp process, but was able to be molded by Deion Sanders and also Coach Dennis Thurman, defense coordinator, who's here as a defensive analyst. Look, these guys know what it's supposed to look like, and they know how to put you in the right space and place to get the job done. And you have guys like a James Houston who may have fought it at first, but when he bought into it, he gets drafted goes to the NFL, plays for the Detroit Lions, and then starts just making records as a rookie happen there and doesn't look back. I think that same thing is going to occur here, man. You're going to have people who arrive here in Colorado, and they're going to be coached by guys who knows what it's supposed to look like. You look at Charles Kelly. Past 5 years, man, he's coached in 2 national championship games. He knows what it's supposed to look like. He knows where to put skilled players in their right positions. So this coaching staff is high caliber still. The players and talent that are here and that are going to come join are high caliber still. The escalator is going up, and there's absolutely no need to break a sweat on the escalator. Just ride the ride.
All right, so probably no bowl game. Neely already explained that theoretically it's possible. We're not really looking at that. But there are some numbers on the line for Shedeur Sanders that will really solidify, at least in Colorado history, what type of year that he had.
Sure. You look at a quarterback, man, who has led the nation in being sacked at 50-plus sacks, but right up there at the tops in completion percentage, and he just eclipsed at Oregon State the single-season passing yards for a season in Colorado. When you think about a Joel Klatt, you think about a Cordell Stewart, Coy Detmer. There have been some quarterbacks who play here, and he surpassed them all in year one. And going into the final game of the season, he's 2 touchdowns away from passing the touchdown single season record, which is something he did at Jackson State. That final game last year, just about a year ago against Alcorn down in Lormer, Mississippi, he threw his 32nd touchdown pass of the season to Travis Hunter, eclipsing the record set by Casey Terrio and Robert Kent at 31. So on pace to do the same thing here. And this is where people said, oh, it's daddy ball. He can't play at that level. They can't play at that level. Putting up the same numbers, breaking single season records, all while being sacked 50 times. What would his numbers be if he was only sacked 30 times?
Neely, tell me if I'm crazy. I saw every Shedeur Sanders game at Jackson State. I've watched every game in Colorado. He's better at Colorado. I mean, like he was really, really good at Jackson State. Like, if you thought, oh man, that's not going to translate, it looks even better at the higher level. At air quotes, higher level.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that you're crazy at all. I recognized it this summer, not so much in the spring, but this summer watching Shedeur play, I was like, man, he is more accurate, deeper ball. Shout out to Select QB, his QB coach Darryl, he works with in the offseason. A lot of people saying Tom Brady this, but he's not around Tom Brady a lot. His Select QBs and his coach Darryl is really getting them trained in an offseason and strong. Coincident enough, Darryl also trained some of the quarterbacks Shedeur faces, such as Washington State's quarterback. So Shedeur puts the work in the offseason to get stronger and better. One of these games, he was running the ball. He hit 20 miles per hour in his speed. He's stronger. He's faster. He's more accurate deep down the field. And I would imagine with this chip on his shoulder after this season, falling out of the Heisman hype, and with a new offensive line, a pissed off Shedeur Sanders, like a pissed off Travis Hunter, is going to be something like you've never seen.
So I'm looking behind me. That Alcorn defense, that Texas Southern defense, that Grambling defense, that Central defense, they weren't that bad, were they?
Not when you look at numbers to numbers. And that's one of the things I always said before we got here, that if I was a kid who played defense at FAMU, I'd be pulling for Shedeur Sanders to see if he could put up the same numbers against Oregon that he put up against me. And he's done it, all while being sacked 50-plus times.
It is a thing. It is a thing. The numbers do not lie. Neely, your conversation, your time around Dr. J. You talked to a lot of people this season. I feel like that one, man, kind of hit your spirit a little differently.
Yeah, it did, man. That's my Jordan. That's my Jim Brown. That's my Bill Russell. I was going to generations before me and the generation during and after me, man. Dr. J was that dude on and off the court, his style. The first one who had, cartoons about him. And even if they weren't giving him a credit, like, let me take you back, man. Do you remember Animal Olympics and Dr. Abdul Jones, the Black Panther, who played for the basketball team? That was a mock of Dr. J, man, not to mention the fish to save Pittsburgh, where he played Moses Guthrie, and Moses Malone would later become his teammate. So it's just a phenomenal human being, man. And to be part of the conversation that he had with Coach Prime. And we're going to be dropping that part 2 out there. Part 1 is, man, probably 100,000 views or more. We got a whole another 20 minutes of them sitting around talking that's coming out this week.
100,000, that number. Did Google send you your thing that you get in the mail for getting 100,000 subscribers?
It is on the way. I received the UPS notification that it is on the way. And so when it gets here, we're going to open it up on the Rewind with Tolly Carr.
Oh, we're going to reveal it right here.
Yeah.
That is going to be awesome, man. That is going to be awesome. We got to remind people that Coach Prime put the challenge out. He wants to see 21,000 new subscribers, and he promises that he's going to come on and do a live Q&A with you. So if you have not subscribed yet to the Pregame Show Network, make sure. Man, just hit it. You come here every week. You're here every week. Just hit subscribe.
Some every day, twice a day. Just hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, because once we reach 121, Coach Prime loves that 21, we're doing a live sit down with him, 21 minutes with Coach Prime, taking your questions and even bringing you on the screen.
That is going to be awesome and scary at the same time. Speaking of awesome, Neely, of all time, as we go into Thanksgiving this week, your all-time dish. You can only pick one. What is that one? You got to go back for seconds, maybe thirds. That's going to be on that plate every Thursday, Thanksgiving Thursday each year.
This may surprise some folks out there because one I'm going with is not just a Thanksgiving dish. It is a year-round dish. I used to think it was a damn vegetable growing up. That's mac and cheese, Tolly. I got to serve the space on that plate, conserve some space on that plate for a helping of mac and cheese. You couldn't have told me when I was a little kid that mac and cheese wasn't a vegetable.
Oh, man, I used to take the mac and cheese, if it was the Kraft kind, man, if you got that little thick piece of cheese that didn't quite dissolve. Oh, my God. It was like a cheese pill, man. It was like really bright orange, man. Do you make a lot of mac and cheese, or you just consume?
I mean, I have never made mac and cheese a day in my life.
Really?
Kraft box or out the microwave.
Really?
But it is, as Jethro Bodine would say, it is my favorite.
All right, so what is your favorite? Is it the homemade? Is it the box? Like,
oh, you got to go homemade, man. You got to go homemade with cheese throughout, man. And then when that top layer of cheese, particularly in the corner, is like cobbler, you got to go for the corner. That top layer of cheese maybe it's not burned, but it got a little crunch to it.
Yeah.
Because that top oven rack, was providing that heat. Oh.
My kids love my mac and cheese. And I just looked up a recipe. I didn't start making it until the last couple of years, but I start out a little butter and a little flour in the pan, and it makes like this kind of brown paste. Then I go with the milk, 2 cups of milk. Then I melt the cheese in the milk, so it's got like a cheesy mix. Mix it up with the macaroni and gets it all gooey, and then just put a little layer on top. Throw it in the oven about 25 minutes. Anything that I can maintain my kids' favor so they will take care of me when I'm old and decrepit, which is rapidly coming, I will do. And for some reason, they love my mac and cheese.
Yeah, well, mine just love when I go buy it because I ain't never made it in my life. But your recipe sounds great.
All this time you pick on me about making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, which I do, and come to find out you don't be burning nothing in the kitchen.
No, wait. We ain't say that now. My kids love my cooking, particularly my grilling, and I don't care if it's barbecuing or putting a piece of salmon on a cedar plank out there on the grill. They know Pops can throw down. Uncle Lenny's y'all call him. You asked me about mac and cheese. I ain't never made no mac and cheese.
Oh.
I just know damn good mac and cheese when I see it and taste it.
All right, so the man throws down on the grill but has never made a mac and cheese.
Have not, and ain't gonna start. 52, ain't no need to learn no new lessons now.
All right, we will have something new this week. I can only imagine that on the Pregame Show Network this week, we're going to have some content from the kitchen. We have to. It's Thanksgiving week.
Absolutely. You know, we are here in Boulder this week because we got a game Saturday on the road. So the team will be spending Thanksgiving in Boulder. Chef Carr Solomon is putting together a wonderful menu for that Thursday afternoon. We're going to go behind the scenes with him this week as he preps for it and then show the service and how everybody enjoys it. So look for that content after Thanksgiving. But we're going to show you what Chef Carl Solomon does to feed about 150 people for Thanksgiving.
You don't have to answer this right now because I literally am just making this up, and I don't expect you to have the math. But I'm just sitting here wondering, how much does it cost to feed these boys all year long? I mean, that level of eating that these young men are
I'm going to find that number out for you, Tolly. I'm going to find that number out because there's some eating that takes place around here. Coach Prime always said, Mama want to know 2 things. Where's her baby going to sleep and what is he going to eat?
Yes. And if nothing else, they've been taken care of in a lot of ways, but that food has not fallen short when you add it up against all the other things that are required to run a football team. The food is second to none, for sure.
And Coach will tell them constantly in team meetings, when I give you something, I expect something. I mean, I've been giving you some good food, so I expect some effort and some wins on that field. I don't think that balance sheet balanced this year, but I think next year you're going to have some expectations to go along with the lobster mac.
All right, so they can deliver this week. You just have to go 1-0. So you can get the good food and you can deliver the goods on Saturday. What is the team playing for? It's not for a winning season. It's not for a bowl, but you still got to go out there and compete, and you want to win your last game. You at least want to leave the season with a good taste in your mouth. What are coaches looking at? Like, what are some things that are just on the line in this final game of the regular season?
Well, looking to win. Like, let's not trip. Utah on paper, Utah at Vegas is a advantageous matchup for them. They're playing a team that hadn't won now 6 games in a row. They are heavily favored, just like TCU was. But in that same David and Goliath mentality, you know, this team is not conceding anything. And like you said, Tolly, no matter what, win or lose, it's going to be Coach Prime's first losing season in his coaching career. And I'm going back to Truth and Trinity and Jackson State. Has never had a losing season as a coach. So that's already solidified. Win or lose, you're not going to a bowl game. That's already solidified. But here's what is on the table, and that's personal pride, and that's playing for the future, and that's leaving good film on the table for coaches to evaluate this offseason. There are going to be some key players who depart from this program. Jordan Dominic, JD as we call him, Georgia Tech, Arkansas, right up there leading the conference in tackles for losses and also sacks. He can't play anymore. He's headed on to playing on Sundays. So those guys who back him up, this is their opportunity when they get in to show that they have a spot on this team and want to be on this team. So I think it's going to be not only trying to go 1-0, wanting to win this game preparation-wise, and performance-wise. But I also think there's going to be a good degree of evaluation taking place in this game, giving some guys some opportunity, looking for those things, those bright spots to see what we actually have finally, that last bit of information, and what we need to bring in that last bit of information. So it's an evaluation game, but you're playing to win, Tolly. Nothing's being conceded.
Well, Neely, it's been quite a ride this season, but I just wonder, man. I sit here and I read, and depending on the platform, like some platforms is like, oh, those are just lovely people. Other platforms is like, oh, this is where all the buzzards hang out. Well, why does Deion Sanders trigger people so much? I'm not going to call him polarizing because I don't think he's polarizing, but some people are just triggered. What is the psychology behind this, Neely?
I don't know. I can't speak on it. I don't wake up with hate or malice in my heart. I don't go seeking out programs that I dislike just to comment that I dislike them on them. You know, I don't understand that mentality. God bless it. I appreciate it. But I think Deion Sanders is one of those personalities, Tolly, just using the words you had about polarizing. There are people on both ends of the spectrum. I do believe the positive end, there were more people. It's not a balanced scale of haters and lovers. There's certainly way, not just in America football, but around the world, lovers of Coach Prime and what he teaches and preaches into young men. But you do have that vocal minority out there who love going out of their way to chirp at him. And he keeps receipts. And sometimes when he got time, he even responds back to him on his personal Instagram and Twitter. You will see him say something back to somebody. So, he's going to have plenty of time in December. So anybody coming at him then are probably going to get a clap back from him.
Oh, speaking of claps, can I clap for our community? I was reading something, and somebody tried to sneak a quick one in at Neely. And when I tell you they got jumped like the Montgomery Docks, man. I was like, don't come for Neely. Are you crazy? Like, don't do that. And, man, they just got...
Was it like Beyonce's Beehive? I didn't get to see
it. You remember that time Martin tried to fight Tommy Hearns on
Yeah.
That's what they look like up against that wall after they tried to come for Neely, man. But I just want to say that the community that you have built here at the Pregame Show Network, man, majority of it is, those are just some really positive and just enjoyable people to create content for. And you can sense the appreciation. And as a content creator, man, it's just really, it's a great feeling to know that people depend on your information. They believe in the integrity of your work, and it just creates such a beautiful relationship of creation, consumption. And I think you've really built a beautiful thing that's really blossomed this year with your coverage of Coach Prime in Colorado.
Well, I appreciate that, Tolly, man. And you have been a part of it from day one with our partnership with HBCU Game Day and the Pregame Show as early as 2021 when we first started doing content together. And I'll tell you, in the immortal words of the legendary lady Erykah Badu, keep in mind I'm an artist. I'm sensitive about my shit. But I will say that thankfully, out of the 100,000 subscribers to the Pregame Show, we got some fans and supporters who are more sensitive than I am. And so you love to see those clapbacks from the audience at somebody. But, man, it's been a labor of love. And I want to say to the folks out there who are new to this platform, this is not just a football platform. You're going to see content in December and January and February and March, going back into spring training. You know, the Pregame Show network is going to be adding more programs, weekly programs. You got the Rewind already. It's coming every week, regardless of football games. You got the Big Boys. It's coming every week, regardless of football games. Simone Stanley is doing her thing with what they're saying, and she's bringing even more content. And, hey, and the tent and the umbrella is getting bigger. It's going to be more to come in 2024, Tolly. As we sit here right now, this time last year, we were at about 28,000 subscribers to this channel. Now over 100,000 in 12 months. So let's keep going, man, going and growing.
Neely, I got lights. I got all these cameras. We got internet. There's no reason why we should not have something to talk about every single week.
You better believe it, and we're going to talk about it right here.
On the Pregame Show Network. This has been the Pregame Show Rewind for Uncle Neely. I'm Tolly Carr. Enjoy your Thanksgiving weekend. we're very thankful for you and your place right here on the Pregame Show Network. We hope you have good eats, good sleep, good times, and we'll see you next week.